Crossing the threshold, a 75% pass mark, academic gratitude, and the dawn of the operational phase in doctoral research. Author Neil Chinnock, Chief Business Administrator, iTech. In the grand trajectory of any rigorous academic or professional odyssey, there exist precise, indelible moments that serve as absolute markers of definitive transition. These are the profound thresholds where the abstract, insulated realm of theoretical conceptualization gives way entirely to the highly demanding, unforgiving reality of operational execution. Today, I find myself standing squarely at one of these magnificent and pivotal intersections. It is with an immense sense of personal pride, profound relief, and deep, enduring gratitude that I can officially announce I have successfully passed Module 2 of my Doctorate in Business Administration, DBA, at Teesside University Business School. When the formal assessment results were released by the university, revealing a final grade of a 75% pass mark, I experienced a profound validation of a year's worth of intense, relentless intellectual pursuit. Within the highly rigorous and uncompromising grading matrix of United Kingdom postgraduate study, achieving a 75% pass mark is an exceptional endorsement from the institutional establishment. It formally confirms that the trajectory of my research is not only academically viable, but highly significant to the contemporary digital landscape and the existential challenges it currently faces. Reaching this specific milestone officially marks the definitive completion of the foundational year of my doctoral project. The architectural blueprints of the research have been drawn at a macro level. The complex epistemological foundations have been secured. The vast expanse of transdisciplinary literature has been meticulously synthesized, and the initial vision has survived its first true collision with formal academic scrutiny. However, as any seasoned researcher or entrepreneur knows, the end of the beginning simply heralds the arrival of the crucible. The theoretical safety of the foundational year is now firmly behind me. The operational phase, and the monumental, grueling hard work that necessarily accompanies it, now lies directly ahead. This comprehensive article serves as an opportunity to express my sincere personal thanks to those who have guided this process. Furthermore, it is a space to reflect deeply upon the highly constructive feedback I have received regarding the presentation of the project's novelty, to illustrate precisely how this academic pursuit works flawlessly, hand in hand with my commercial enterprise, iTech, and to outline the critical, immediate steps required to bring this visionary project to the attention of the UK and global governments and institutional investors, to forge an entirely new social contract, starting right now. A moment of profound and sincere gratitude before casting my gaze toward the horizon and detailing the arduous operational tasks that await, I must first anchor myself in the present and offer my deepest, most sincere thanks. Undertaking a doctorate in business administration while simultaneously navigating the chaotic, high-velocity realities of the commercial digital sector is not an isolated, solitary pursuit. It is a monumental test of cognitive endurance that requires vast support, immense patience, and profound intellectual generosity from those around you. I want to extend my utmost personal gratitude to the esteemed faculty at Teesside University Business School, and specifically to my examining markers for this module. Subjecting one's deeply held professional theories and visionary frameworks to blind academic peer review is a uniquely humbling and highly vulnerable experience. You pour your absolute all into a comprehensive research proposal, send it into the academic ether, and wait for objective judgment. To receive feedback that describes the work as providing an excellent plan, constituting a well-considered proposal, and representing a project with the genuine potential to make a meaningful contribution to the emerging field of artificial intelligence governance is immensely validating. It transforms months of solitary reading and writing into a formally recognized contribution to human knowledge. I am personally so very thankful that the examiners took the time to deeply engage with the nuances of my proposal, treating the interdisciplinary ambition with the respect and rigorous scrutiny it requires. I must also extend my profound thanks to my professional peers, mentors, and the wider network of industry colleagues. Your ongoing dialogues, your healthy skepticism, and the real-world friction you have provided have continually sharpened my thinking over the past 12 months. To successfully navigate the first year of a doctoral journey requires an ecosystem of unyielding support, and I am acutely aware of how fortunate I am to possess one. Achieving a 75% pass mark in a module that demands such high-level synthesis of complex, rapidly evolving phenomena is not just a personal victory. It is a testament to the collaborative environment that has nurtured this research from its inception. The significance of the 75% pass mark and the novelty of the research. In the context of UK postgraduate and doctoral studies, a 75% pass mark is an outstanding achievement that is not easily or lightly awarded. It signifies work that demonstrates high originality, critical analytical depth, and meticulous structural coherence. For my specific journey, this grade represents a vital, flashing green light. It confirms that the core macro thesis of my project is theoretically sound and academically defensible at the highest institutional levels. I am particularly thankful that the examiners explicitly recognized and commended the distinct interdisciplinary nature of this work, highlighting its undeniable novelty. Attempting to seamlessly weave together the often siloed fields of strategic management, regulatory economics, complex cryptography, and advanced pedagogical theory into a single, cohesive doctoral study was a massive academic risk. Academia often inherently favors narrow, highly specialized silos of inquiry, separating human resources from cybersecurity and legal frameworks from corporate strategy. To have this holistic, wide-angle approach formally validated as establishing a distinctive foundation for the study tells me that the conceptual risk was entirely worth taking. The real world does not operate in silos. Digital threats are simultaneously legal, technological, and deeply human crises. The examiners rightly identified that the core novelty of this research lies in its proactive statutory approach, proposing a structural pivot that moves far beyond the reactive paradigms currently failing the digital ecosystem. This top-tier mark validates the foundational argument that the global digital economy must urgently transition from an outdated corporate resource-based view to a modern legitimacy-based view. It proves that the academic establishment agrees with my assessment. Relying on voluntary soft law and performative corporate social responsibility is no longer a sufficient or sustainable method for governing autonomous digital systems. The 75% pass mark confirms that the academic community clearly recognizes the severe threat posed by algorithmic opacity, and crucially, that they agree a proactive, statutory, and human-centric governance model is an area demanding immediate, rigorous empirical investigation. Furthermore, scoring so highly on the methodology section provides an incredible boost of confidence. It means that the complex, dual-track qualitative methodology I designed to actually conduct this research over the next few years has been deemed highly robust and practically feasible. Designing a study that can extract genuine, vulnerable truths from elite corporate executives while maintaining absolute ethical integrity is incredibly difficult. Knowing that the mechanics of my proposed study are solid allows me to enter the operational phase without second-guessing my foundational research design. Navigating novelty, constructive critique, and cautious confidentiality. However, receiving academic validation is a delicate balancing act. While the examiners clearly acknowledged the striking originality of the proposed framework, noting that it brings together perspectives rarely considered within a single study, they also provided a piece of profoundly constructive critique regarding how this novelty is presented. They astutely observed that while the originality of the proposed framework is evident, some of the claims regarding its uniqueness and anticipated impact should be presented more cautiously in an academic context. This observation perfectly encapsulates the fascinating tension between entrepreneurial vision and academic rigor. As a commercial founder driving a startup, My natural inclination is to speak in bold, definitive, and disruptive terms about the transformative power of the enterprise. The language of business is the language of absolute solutions and guaranteed outcomes. Yet the DBA is fundamentally an exercise in objective, rigorous academic science. The scientific method demands humility before the data and a commitment to treating highly original frameworks as hypotheses to be rigorously tested rather than as infallible finished products. This vital academic polish serves as a grounding reminder that true novelty is established not through declarative statements, but through undeniable empirical evidence. It ensures that as I move into the operational phase, I do not approach my research seeking merely to confirm my own commercial biases, but rather to impartially investigate, critique, and refine my models based purely on the real-world data collected from industry practitioners. Crucially, this wise counsel regarding the cautious presentation of uniqueness and impact perfectly aligns with and provides the ultimate academic justification for a vital strategic necessity moving forward: cautious confidentiality. From this point forward, the specific granular mechanics of the digital framework under development will recede behind a strict informational airlock. I will only discuss the framework in highly generalized, broad terms. There are profound, non-negotiable reasons for this doctrine of selective disclosure, all of which serve the ultimate purpose of ensuring the project is developed robustly and responsibly while heeding the examiner's advice to proceed with caution. By not giving away too much information, we preserve the integrity of the ongoing research and the commercial viability of the enterprise. First and foremost is the protection of intellectual property and commercial viability for iTech. The framework currently under development involves complex conceptual integrations intended for real-world application. In the hyper-competitive artificial intelligence space, intellectual property theft is a severe daily reality. Publishing these granular blueprints prematurely would instantly compromise the IP of the enterprise and erode the strategic advantage we are painstakingly building. By keeping the mechanics strictly confidential, I am treating the framework exactly as the examiners requested, as a protected, evolving hypothesis whose full impact will be revealed only when empirically proven and legally secured, rather than a public finished product vulnerable to imitation. Secondly, this confidentiality is the lifeblood of my approved dual-track methodology. The public-facing element discusses broad concepts and invites systemic friction from the wider industry. However, the actual technical wiring and precise statutory mapping are being developed entirely in the secure background. This allows me to dynamically adapt the underlying mechanics based on incoming empirical data, acting precisely on the academic advice to test claims rigorously, without being locked into a prematurely publicized structure. Finally, confidentiality honors the sanctity of primary data collection. My research will heavily involve highly confidential field interviews with elite C-suite executives and legal experts discussing their deepest corporate vulnerabilities and exposure to algorithmic sabotage. To unequivocally honor their trust, I must demonstrate an absolute mastery of confidentiality. If I were to publicly broadcast the intricate details of the framework their testimonies are helping to shape, I would violate that trust. Therefore, the exact technical wiring and precise socioeconomic modeling will remain securely locked away, discussed only at a high conceptual level, ensuring the research remains objective and empirically grounded. The symbiosis of academic research and commercial vision, the iTech mission. It is absolutely vital to clarify that this doctoral journey is not occurring within an isolated, theoretical academic silo. The research I am conducting at Teesside University and the commercial business model of my enterprise, iTech, work hand in hand entirely. They are two inextricably linked halves of the exact same visionary whole. The academic research provides the rigorous, empirically validated foundation, while the corporate business model provides the agile, real-world vehicle designed to implement those solutions globally. To truly understand how this academic framework translates into tangible, real-world impact, one must look directly to the foundational ethos of the enterprise driving it. The operational phase of this doctorate perfectly mirrors and executes the formal mission statement of the company itself. iTech's goal is to submit its products and services to extensive review by its staff. The guiding principle of each review is designed to help lead to new thinking for the 21st century, to seek global solutions to common problems with content that is either evidence-based or based on sound professional observation in principle and science to satisfactorily meet the exact digital security industry needs. See 2026. This mission statement is the vital bridge between my university studies and my commercial ambitions. The rigorous primary data collection, the abductive thematic synthesis, and the intense academic scrutiny I will be conducting over the next few years are the extensive review process demanded by our corporate goal. The DBA ensures that the overarching frameworks we are developing at iTech are not based on guesswork, entrepreneurial intuition, or corporate hubris, but are entirely evidence-based or based on sound professional observation in principle and science. By fusing the doctoral operational phase directly with iTech's commercial strategy, we guarantee that the solutions we ultimately bring to the digital security industry are mathematically sound, legally viable, and sociologically responsible. The business model provides the funding, the technological agility, and the highly compensated human workforce necessary to turn academic new thinking for the 21st century into a functioning global reality. The business feeds the research, and the research validates the business. They are a perfectly aligned engine for systemic change. Every hypothesis tested, every piece of data coded, and every theoretical assumption challenged during the operational phase of this DBA breathes direct, empirical life into iTech's corporate mission. Reflecting on the foundational year, defining the macro crisis. To truly appreciate the weight of this transition from theory to operation, it is vital to reflect on what the foundational year actually entailed and the macro-level problem it sought to define. Over the past 12 months, my research has systematically deconstructed the rapidly evolving digital landscape, leading to a stark and undeniable conclusion. We are in the midst of a profound, unprecedented epistemological crisis. My research has heavily focused on articulating our definitive crossing into the post-Turing era. The Internet is currently shuddering under the tectonic shifts of generative artificial intelligence, moving violently away from a deterministic model where search engines simply retrieved existing human-authored information into a highly volatile, probabilistic environment. We have entered an age of generative engine optimization, where artificial intelligence dynamically synthesizes, curates, and frequently hallucinates content at zero marginal cost. The result of this technological explosion is an escalating integrity deficit. Drawing upon the economic principles of Gresham's law, which dictates that bad money drives out good, my foundational research successfully demonstrated that low-quality, unverified, machine-generated noise is actively and relentlessly driving high-quality, verified human information out of the digital commons. In the real world, this means local businesses are buried under fake reviews, consumers are defrauded by deepfakes, and democratic discourse is polluted by automated botnets. When both consumers and algorithms can no longer distinguish between authenticated human truth and highly convincing synthetic fabrication, the foundational trust required for commercial enterprise and democratic stability rapidly evaporates. During this foundational year, my exhaustive literature reviews and theoretical mapping revealed a critical governance vacuum. Current regulatory frameworks are woefully outpaced by the speed of technological advancement. The historical reliance on voluntary industry codes of conduct, performative wellness dashboards, and reactive legislation that only penalizes harm after it has irreversibly occurred is proving structurally incapable of managing this crisis. The foundational year defined the exact dimensions of this crisis. The operational phase will now test the viability of a proposed solution. A high-level horizon. The philosophy of post-Turing governance. While the intricate technical wiring of the framework designed to solve this will be kept strictly confidential, it is important to reflect on the overarching philosophy. At its most general level, the framework I am researching seeks to answer one existential question. How do we restore unshakable trust to a digital ecosystem where anything can be fabricated by a machine? The hypothesis explores the conceptual mechanisms required to ensure that commercial digital outputs are mathematically anchored to verified, legally accountable human operators. The research investigates how we might transpose the strict, real-world compliance structures found in heavily regulated physical industries into the borderless digital realm. It looks at how a proactive statutory model can replace reactive soft law, which only penalizes corporations long after irreversible reputational or financial harm has occurred, with infrastructural enforcement. It is an exploration of how we might create a secure supply chain of trust, empowering end users, shielding legitimate businesses from automated reputational sabotage, and bringing the Wild West of generative AI under a structured, democratic, and ethically grounded rule of law. Appealing to investors. The urgent imperative to capitalize the human vanguard. Receiving academic validation with a 75% pass mark is a momentous step, but it is fundamentally a license to begin the real work. The theoretical cocoon has now been breached. The transition into the operational heart of the DBA is akin to leaving the safety of a simulation and stepping out into the turbulent reality of the field. To bring about the dawn of the Digital Security Industry Authority, DSIA, and translate this academic success into a tangible global reality, the project must now actively appeal to the key stakeholders capable of getting it off the ground: sovereign governments and strategic institutional investors. What is immensely beneficial from investors, and urgently required sooner rather than later, is strategic, visionary capital directed not just at software development, but at establishing the human infrastructure required to operate it. The window of opportunity to define the architecture of the post-Turing era is open right now, but as generative AI evolves at breakneck speed, this window will not remain open indefinitely. Early-stage investment is absolutely critical because it provides the essential economic oxygen needed to accelerate the operational phase and, crucially, to begin physically and structurally constructing the human workforce that makes the entire cybersecurity protocol function. In the digital governance model I am researching, the software and cryptography side are only half the equation. The ultimate firewall is the human being. The entire efficacy of the framework rests entirely on the cognitive vigilance and moral clarity of the human operators tasked with auditing AI, preventing algorithmic drift, and authorizing critical data flows. Therefore, early investment is not just about funding server space or software development cycles. It is primarily about funding the recruitment, training, and establishment of the human vanguard. How and why early investment builds the fiduciaries of the future. Taking individuals from vastly diverse socioeconomic backgrounds and transforming them into elite, cryptographically verified digital auditors requires time, bespoke pedagogy, and unwavering corporate commitment. This is a monumental investment in human capital that traditional, profit-obsessed corporate models entirely avoid because of the initial upfront cost. If we wait for the governance vacuum to completely collapse the digital economy before acting, it will be far too late to train the necessary workforce. We need capital immediately to initiate the revolutionary socio-economic blueprints that iTech has conceptualized. We must build the human infrastructure ahead of the technological scaling. Specifically, early investment allows iTech to aggressively target 4 vital demographics to staff the fiduciaries of the future, transforming theoretical models into real-world operational pathways. The synergy of these 4 groups creates a robust, impenetrable human firewall. 1. The educational vanguard and post-16 apprenticeships. We must actively intercept young talent, specifically those aged 16 to 24 who are not in full-time education, before they succumb to the despair of youth unemployment or are funneled into exploitative, low-wage gig economy roles. In the real world, this demographic is frequently ignored by top-tier tech firms or relegated to menial administrative tasks. Investment capital allows us to launch robust, highly paid apprenticeships rooted in what we term Education 4.0. We need funds now to hire the university-educated professionals, the legal scholars, ethicists, and senior technologists who will design the curriculum and physically mentor these young adults. Instead of teaching them obsolete coding syntax that generative AI can already write infinitely faster, we must train them in applied ethics, data provenance, and digital human rights. Crucially, capital allows us to eradicate the apprentice wage trap. In the real world, apprentices are often paid poverty wages, forcing them to drop out or suffer severe financial anxiety. Early investment allows iTech to pay these young adults a sovereign statutory living wage from day one of their training. It funds the immediate implementation of their 10% compounding annual wage uplift and their flat 10% employer pension contribution. This transforms anxious, marginalized youths into deeply loyal, financially secure, and exceptionally trained digital fiduciaries, creating a dedicated workforce that will guard our systems for decades. This is a massive strategic moat. While competitors fight over an overpriced, exhausted pool of existing tech talent, early investment allows iTech to literally create net new, fiercely loyal talent. 2. The recovery and reskilling of the welfare-dependent youth. The UK, alongside many global economies, is currently facing a tragic epidemic of youth economic inactivity driven by severe mental health barriers, social anxiety, and neurodivergence. This demographic frequently finds the traditional, bustling corporate office environment deeply disabling. Yet, their specific cognitive profiles, often characterized by extreme hyperfocus, exceptional pattern recognition, and an acute sensitivity to logical inconsistencies, are exactly the traits required for complex algorithmic auditing and data provenance tracking. Early investment allows iTech to build the secure, remote, cryptographic sanctuaries necessary for this demographic to work safely from their own homes. This is not a simple work-from-home policy. It requires real-world investment in highly secure, hardware-filtered remote terminals that prevent exposure to the toxic open internet. Furthermore, funding is required immediately to directly employ the clinical psychologists, occupational therapists, and specialized human resources experts needed to support this transition. By using investment to carefully onboard this demographic, providing wraparound pastoral care, we provide a lucrative off-ramp from state welfare dependency. We prove to sovereign governments the immense macroeconomic value of our corporate model by turning welfare recipients into highly taxed, economically sovereign digital stewards. 3. Reclaiming the adult workforce and eradicating the elder care trap. Millions of mature adults are trapped in long-term unemployment due to industrial displacement, physical disability, or the crushing unpaid burden of elder care. The technology sector routinely discards this demographic, favoring youth over experience. However, the governance of artificial intelligence desperately requires the mature human judgment, deep empathy, and battle-tested ethical radar these adults possess. Algorithms do not understand human suffering or nuanced societal context. Mature adults do. Investment capital is required immediately to fund the comprehensive, corporate-subsidized upskilling programs needed to bring these adults back into the authenticated digital supply chain as independent compliance auditors. We need to fund the physical training hubs and the pedagogical experts to bridge their digital skills gap. Crucially, early funding allows iTech to begin establishing the foundational secondary tier of our business model, the direct provision elder social care networks. In the real world, an adult cannot return to a demanding cybersecurity role if they are the sole carer for a parent suffering from dementia. Early capital allows us to fund domiciliary care and privacy-preserving smart home monitoring for the elderly dependents of our staff. By doing this, we instantly free these mature adults to confidently re-enter the workforce, completely eradicating the elder care trap and unlocking a massive reservoir of dedicated human potential. 4. The expertise catalyst, experienced professionals and university graduates at all levels. While the reclamation of marginalized demographics provides the vast, distributed auditing force necessary to govern the digital commons, the overarching ecosystem simultaneously requires a formidable elite echelon of domain experts to architect, lead, and sustain it. This fourth, absolutely critical demographic encompasses experienced professionals already navigating the workforce, recent university graduates stepping into a precarious economy, and individuals studying part-time who require flexible, high-caliber employment that respects their educational commitments. To build, manage, and legally govern an infrastructure of this immense complexity, iTech requires immediate, world-class cognitive talent across all educational levels, from those holding bachelor's degrees to master's recipients and doctoral scholars. We need brilliant legal minds to navigate international statutory compliance and shape the mutual recognition treaties necessary for cross-border data flows. We require experienced clinical directors, psychiatrists, and registered dental practitioners to build and operate our internal direct provision healthcare hubs. We need advanced cryptographers, postgraduate data scientists, and seasoned strategic managers to secure the network and mentor our younger apprentices. However, in the real world, this elite demographic is currently burning out under the exploitative salary trap of legacy tech monopolies, frequently hitting glass ceilings or facing severe motherhood penalties. Recent graduates, meanwhile, are entering the job market burdened by crippling student debt and fierce competition for entry-level roles that offer little long-term security in an AI-disrupted landscape. Furthermore, those studying part-time for advanced degrees, who possess the exact analytical rigor our framework demands, often struggle to find corporate roles that respect their academic commitments without enforcing unpaid presenteeism. Early investment capital is urgently required to ruthlessly compete for this top-tier talent. By securing funds now, we can instantly attract the absolute best minds in the world by actualizing the unparalleled iTech employment package. For the experienced professional already entrenched in the sector, our strict hourly mandate with punitive overtime multipliers, 1.5 standard, 2x extreme, immediately eradicates the unpaid overwork that defines the modern corporate grind, restoring their work-life balance. For top executives starting families, our offer of up to 52 weeks of fully paid family leave, inclusive of positional bonuses, destroys the motherhood penalty, drawing the best leadership to our ranks. For the recent graduate burdened by debt, our 10% compounding annual wage uplift and flat 10% employer pension contribution mathematically guarantee a pathway to rapid financial sovereignty. For the part-time student, our model offers unmatched respect for their time, paying them fairly for every hour worked without the pressure of unpaid corporate presenteeism, allowing them to fund their studies while gaining elite industry experience. Early capital allows us to hire these leaders today, ensuring that the symbiosis of lived experience and academic expertise is fully realized within the company. The experienced legal scholar translates the insights of the neurodivergent auditor into enforceable compliance reports. The clinical psychologist supports the reskilled adult. We simply cannot build the architecture without first securing the architects, and visionary investment is the key to unlocking this indispensable human resource. How capital introduces success to iTech and generates ROI. How precisely could this investment be introduced to make the project successful, and what is the return on investment, ROI, in the real world? The infusion of funds would be highly targeted, structured in tranches tied to verifiable milestones. Initial capital injections would be ring-fenced to build the proprietary training platforms, lease the physical academy spaces, and hire the elite, university-educated managerial tier necessary to oversee the apprenticeships and retraining programs. By bringing in strategic partners who understand both the cybersecurity landscape and the macroeconomic benefits of the socio-economic model, iTech gains not just capital, but powerful advisory boards and accelerated access to government lobbying channels. This early financial injection guarantees that as the empirical data rolls in from the doctorate, iTech has the immediate operational runway to adapt the code, secure the patents, and most importantly, deploy its highly vetted, highly trained human vanguard instantly. For investors, the ROI of funding this human infrastructure is profound. In the cybersecurity sector, the insider threat, where an exhausted, financially desperate employee is bribed or compromised by hostile actors, is a catastrophic liability. By paying exceptionally well, enforcing strict hourly mandates with punitive overtime multipliers to prevent burnout, and guaranteeing generational wealth, leaving iTech or accepting a bribe becomes an act of profound economic self-destruction. This creates a pristine, mathematically secure operational environment. Consequently, when iTech presents its risk profile to global cyber insurers, our premiums will drop exponentially. The upfront cost of funding human dignity translates directly into massive, long-term corporate profitability, lower operational risks, and unshakable institutional trust. It flawlessly aligns with massive, untapped pools of environmental, social, and governance (ESG) capital, positioning iTech as the ultimate socially responsible investment in the technology sector. Forging a new social contract starting now. Perhaps the most compelling argument for early engagement is the opportunity to help create a completely new social contract starting immediately. The iTech vision is clear. We cannot build a mathematically secure digital future on a foundation of human exploitation. With strategic investment sooner rather than later, we can begin implementing our rigorous, uncompromising employment standards today. We can shift our vision from academic theory to undeniable, observable reality by fully executing the human dignity standard in the real world. By funding the initial rollout of our ethical employment structures, we can immediately demonstrate the real-world viability of our policies. We can practically implement the total eradication of the salary trap through our strict hourly mandate and punitive overtime multipliers, proving to the market that extreme productivity does not require systemic burnout. We can execute the compounding 10% annual wage uplift, mathematically guaranteeing generational wealth for our fiduciaries. We can initiate the flat 10% employer pension contributions, proving we are actively relieving the future state pension burden. And crucially, we can begin constructing the internal infrastructure required for our direct provision universal healthcare, clinical dentistry, and mental wellness hubs. This immediate action transforms the new social contract from a future promise into a present, living reality. It demonstrates unequivocally to the market and to sovereign governments that a secure digital future is intrinsically and practically linked to the uncompromising protection and elevation of the human workforce. Furthermore, this real-world proof of concept is infinitely more powerful than any academic paper when lobbying governments for statutory adoption. When we can walk into a government ministry and demonstrate that our corporate model is already reducing youth unemployment, already easing local health service backlogs, and already securing the digital commons, the argument for statutory adoption of the Digital Security Industry Authority, DSIA, becomes unassailable. We move from asking for permission to demonstrating undeniable systemic relief. Bringing about the dawn of the DSIA requires a meticulously orchestrated strategy that bridges the gap between academic theory, commercial innovation, and sovereign law. By establishing a robust domestic baseline powered by early, visionary investment, we will create a powerful ripple effect. When iTech sets this new, elevated standard in the real world, stringent, high-quality regulations will inevitably force global markets to elevate their own practices to compete for talent, ushering in the era of the DSIA. The crucible, the hard work follows. The coming years will be defined by a series of monumental, highly complex tasks. Once the raw qualitative data is gathered from elite C-suite gatekeepers during my doctoral field research, the intellectual heavy lifting truly commences. Conducting qualitative research is a messy, iterative process of finding hidden themes within subjective human experiences. I must meticulously code hours of transcripts, hunting for systemic friction points and logical gaps regarding how businesses will adapt to statutory human accountability. The framework that emerges at the end of this doctoral journey will be a hardened, battle-tested architecture shaped entirely by empirical reality, fully realizing the academic requirement to test and temper claims of novelty with solid data. Perhaps the most daunting aspect of the operational phase is the sheer velocity of the subject matter itself. I am attempting to blueprint a regulatory architecture for an exponentially moving target. To combat temporal regulatory lag, the hard work involves maintaining a highly dynamic methodology, continuously cross-referencing my evolving findings against a real-time global master list of emerging international law. I must ensure that the high-level concepts I am testing empirically today remain legally and technologically relevant in the years to come. This requires a relentless commitment to staying at the absolute vanguard of global technological discourse, whilst simultaneously maintaining the slow, deliberate rigor of doctoral-level qualitative analysis. When staring down the barrel of years of qualitative data coding, iterative drafting, and rigorous academic defenses, it is incredibly easy to become lost in the procedural minutiae of a doctorate. Therefore, as I cross this operational threshold, I must continually remind myself why this grueling hard work is so desperately necessary. At a high conceptual level, the framework I am developing is about fundamentally reclaiming human agency in a world that is rapidly and recklessly outsourcing its reality to autonomous machines. The post-Turing crisis has profound, devastating impacts on the real world. When digital identity is completely divorced from human accountability, vulnerable populations are exposed to predatory algorithmic loops, small businesses are destroyed by automated synthetic sabotage, and the digital workforce faces severe burnout as they act as the fragile shock absorbers for volatile AI systems. The operational phase of my research is dedicated to empirically proving that this dystopian trajectory is simply a design flaw that can be structurally corrected. My high-level goal is to objectively prove that by embedding statutory human accountability into the very fabric of the Internet, we can architect a digital economy where trust is a mathematical certainty. It is an exploration of how we can mandate that commercial actions taken by an AI are anchored to a verified, well-rested, highly trained, and legally accountable human being. Conclusion, looking to the horizon. Achieving a 75% pass mark on Module 2 is a deeply validating milestone. It tells me that the academic foundation is solid, the methodology is sound, and the interdisciplinary ambition and novelty of this project are recognized as highly valuable by Teesside University. I am deeply, personally thankful to the examiners, my mentors, and my community for bringing me to this exact point. But the ink on the feedback sheet is already dry, and the foundational year is officially closed. As I step into the operational phase, I do so with a profound sense of responsibility and renewed focus. I carry with me the examiner's invaluable advice to present claims cautiously, using it as the strategic foundation for the extreme, cautious confidentiality I must now employ. This ensures the specific architectural blueprints remain protected while I engage the public sphere on the vital philosophy of digital trust and gather the rigorous empirical data required to objectively validate the model. Above all, I carry the mission of iTech to seek global solutions to common problems through evidence-based, scientifically sound principles. The journey from here to the final thesis defense will undoubtedly be the most intellectually demanding period of my life. Yet, I have never been more ready. The governance vacuum of the post-Turing era demands a rigorously researched, empirically validated solution. The hard, necessary work to forge that solution, attract vital, early investment to build the new social contract starting now, partner with sovereign governments, and bring about the dawn of the DSIA begins today. Thanks for watching.